The forecast today is mixed, but it's an ideal opportunity to head to the coast and do another hike in the Coast and Coffee series. So I'm heading for the Pembrokeshire Coast path to hike a short stretch which is renowned for its views, history and geology. So let's hit the road and hope the weather is kind to us. Hello everybody and welcome back to Rag-venturediaries YouTube channel. My name's John. Today I'm out on the Pembrokeshire Coast path again and I've driven down in the Campervan to Porthgain. The idea today is to do a short hike from Porthgain to Abereiddy and then back. As you've seen, the weather's not too good today, so hoping we'll catch a break in the rain and the clouds and be able to do that in the dry. Come along and watch. Porthgain was once a thriving industrial port, exporting slate, crushed stone for road building and bricks. Industries here operated from the late 1800s until the early 1930s, after which the quarrying and stone export trade declined and finally ceased. Today these ruined buildings are part of the industrial archaeology of the Pembrokeshire Coast, evocative reminders of the village's working past, and now protected as part of the conservation area. So when you're walking up above the harbour, those dramatic ruin piles aren't old houses or castles. They're the ghosts of Porthgain's industrial age, where stone was crushed, sorted, stored and shipped around the UK. So we're up on a plateau just above Porthgain Harbour, and really you can see from the makeup of this plateau how it harks back to the industrial era of Porthgain Harbour. Porthgain Harbour was a thriving port in the 1800s and it exported brick, slate, all sorts of industrial materials for building right around the country. And here you can see just a flat area that would have been used with some buildings to help in those purposes from the 1850s onwards. A key port really for the Industrial Revolution. These whitewashed stone pillars or obelisks were built to help ships find and line up the narrow entrance to the harbour
when approaching from sea. They acted like fixed visual markers for mariners, so by lining up the two structures as they approached, sailors could judge their position and safely steer into the narrow harbour channel. In that era, before modern electronic navigation, such beacons were an essential Victorian GPS-style aid for coastal navigation in a busy quarry and export port. As we wander further up the cliffs behind the harbour, we find the foundations and walls of the port quarry infrastructure, which includes stone crushing plants, engine houses, workshops, weighbridges and tramway remains. There were also brick-making works here that use slate waste to produce bricks for use right across the UK. The cut running down the cliff into the sea above Porthgain Harbour is a man-made quarry cutting, part of the village's industrial quarry and export system. It formed part of the tramway and gravity system that carried dolerite or igneous rock from the inland quarry workings down to the harbour. Stone was moved along the tram tracks and through cuttings and chutes to reach the brick hoppers and loading areas you see near the harbour. From there, the crushed stone was loaded directly onto ships for export, mainly for road building. The cutting is steep and straight because it was engineered for efficiency, not scenery. It slices through the cliff because that was the most direct route from quarry to sea. Erosion since the quarry closed has softened it somewhat, but its industrial geometry still stands out clearly against the natural cliff shape. So we've been lucky enough to see a double rainbow here this morning. One of the perks of getting out into the outdoors. Just had a bit of a downpour. Stopped to put some waterproofs on and the cover on the rucksack, and that's the reward. Looking beautiful. Way off in the distance there, we can see the lighthouse flashing on Strumble Head. Don't know if you can make that out. One of the reasons I've come out on this easy hike today is because I've injured my left knee whilst training for my next ultra. I had quite a painful bout of patellar tendonitis, which meant that I was on naproxen 1,000 milligrams a day for 10 days, and I'm just trying to rehab myself and get back into it gently. One of the dangers of overdoing it, I suppose, and it was too much strength and conditioning that did it for me, paradoxically, but just shows you've got to be careful with overloading and got to listen to the recovery signals in the body. Anyway, let's crack on with this walk today, which is absolutely gorgeous.
coast is looking magnificent today. At the right time of year, it's a great place to spot grey Atlantic seals around these parts. We should see that in May, June and July. Possibly still a bit too cold at the moment.
Abereiddy Tower, the small stone tower you see above Abereiddy Bay on the Trwncastle headland. Okay, let's get over to Abereiddy. Just over there, not far, about a mile. Traeth laughing, perhaps we'll have a play here on the way back.
Hello. What's your name then? Sheepy Muck Sheepface? You're brave for a sheep. We've been lucky with the weather today. It seems to have cleared. A lovely day. What I'm noticing with the forecast these days is they give you a percentage chance of precipitation, i.e. the risk could be like 60%, but you've also got to check the amount of water that they're referring to, because if it's 60% of 0.5 millimeters, well, you know, get out there, your skin's waterproof. We've got a view of Abereiddy from above. I explained what this place was all about in the last episode of Coast and Coffee, so go and refer to that. Looks like we got some blue tits down there, or chill dippers, and looking like a lovely day for it. But we'll go down and then try and get up to this structure on the headland. So let's go and do it. Oh. Well, that looks a bit... I don't think we'll be able to get around there. Let's go and have a look for another way.
Abereiddy Tower is a post-medieval stone tower, a Grade 2 listed building, standing on the headland north of Abereiddy Bay near the old slate workings. It's relatively small, about 3.5 metres tall, with windows facing the sea, a fireplace inside and a simple roof structure. The date of construction isn't exactly known, but it most likely dates from around the late 18th or early 19th century, possibly circa 1800. It appears on an Admiralty chart from 1842, described as a summer house, suggesting it was already standing by the early Victorian era. Its purpose? There are a few possibilities, but there's no single certain explanation. Ideas suggest it's a lookout tower or a navigation marker. Its position on a high point of the headland and sea-facing windows mean it could have been used to watch the coast or help coastal navigation, especially for boats entering difficult coves or approaching from sea. Some sources describe it as serving as a navigation reference, helping fishermen or traders near Abereiddy Bay. A summer house or viewing folly. Old Admiralty maps label it as a summer house, and some local interpretations suggest it might have been a pleasure building, perhaps used by local landowners or quarry directors, and even their guests, as a place to enjoy sea views. And finally, a meeting or social spot. Local accounts also indicate it may have been used informally as a gathering place for directors of the nearby Abereiddy slate quarry or their families. Today, the tower is now a historic landmark on the Pembrokeshire Coast path, a quirky piece of coastal heritage with a bit of mystery around it. Many hikers stop to take photos of it above the Blue Lagoon and imagine its original purpose.
So we've had the best of the weather now, and we visited this structure with marvellous 360-degree views over Porthgain, over Abereiddy and the Blue Lagoon. I think it's probably time to head back now to the van so we can get a coffee in the wall. Let's go. If you ever come here to do this walk, it is possible when you head from Abereiddy to go inland following this path up towards Innisbarry Farm, and you can do a circular route rather than an out and back. But for this video, and because of the views we're having today, I'm going back the way I came. So we've got about 2 and a bit miles to go back along the coast to Porthgain. When you see a beach that's got undisturbed sand, come on, you've just got to go and make some footprints, haven't you? Let's go and do it. there's people there already. Oh, lovely beach. Lots of cars here now. That wraps up this episode of Coast and Coffee, everybody. I'm back in the camper van, nice brew and a sandwich before heading off home. It was only a brief hike, but the views were marvellous, and we had to play with that brief weather window that we had, and we were really quite lucky there. Waterproof's on for only about half an hour during the day. So that's it. Please like and subscribe. There's lots of adventures coming up. Make sure you don't miss any of the action and come along with me.